Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 11 to 15 of chapter 3. Devan bhavayatanena
Devan bhavayatanena
Te deva bhavayantu vaha
Te deva bhavayantu vaha
Parasparam bhavayantaha
Parasparam bhavayantaha
Shreyah paramavapsyatha
Shreyah paramavapsyatha
Ishtan bhogan hi vo devaha
Ishtan bhogan hi vo devaha
Dasyante yajna bhavitaha
Dasyante yajna bhavitaha
Tairdattana pradayaibhyaha
Tairdattana pradayaibhyaha
Yo bhungte stena eva saha
Yo bhungte stena eva saha
Yajna shishtashinah santaha
Yajna shishtashinah santaha
Muchyante sarva kilbishaihi
Muchyante sarva kilbishaihi
Bhunjate te tvagam papaha
Bhunjate te tvagam papaha
Ye pachantyatmakaranat
Ye pachantyatmakaranat
Annad bhavanti bhutani
Annad bhavanti bhutani
Parjanyadanna sambhavaha
Parjanyadanna sambhavaha
Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha
Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha
Yajnah karma samudbhavaha
Yajnah karma samudbhavaha
Karma brahmodbhavam viddhi.
Karma brahmodbhavam viddhi.
Brahmaksharasamudbhavam.
Brahmaksharasamudbhavam.
Tasmat sarvagatam brahma.
Tasmat sarvagatam brahma.
Nityam yagne pratishtitam.
Nityam yagne pratishtitam.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So in the last session, I was telling you the importance of this word Viddhi. It is the Upanishadic style. It's a very powerful word used by the master to awaken the quest in a student, to awaken the mumukshatva. Mumukshatva means that desire to liberate oneself and merge with the infinite. The tendency of the mind is to just experience things in a mechanical way. Every day you are doing so many activities. Not only every day, even if you take many years or your entire life, you are doing various activities. You are engaging yourself in so many things. Now, have you ever paused and questioned, why am I doing all this? What is the purpose of my life? Why have I been born? That question itself doesn't come out. It is there within each individual, but it doesn't come to surface because you're so involved in the activities which you're doing. When you are a child, you're so involved in play. You're playing all the time. Where is the time for thinking or even questioning all this? Then when you become youthful, when you become a youth, there are so many things. You're so involved with passion. And then as you grow further, you get involved with so many things like career and all that, family. And then as you get into old age, you get so involved in worrying. That is what Adi Shankaracharya says in the Bhajagovindam. Vriddhastavat chintasaktaha. The attachment is to worry because you have nothing else to do, so the mind starts worrying, and you're so busy worrying that you don't have time to question the basics of life. So your real spiritual quest starts with these internal questions. What am I doing here fundamentally? Why is it that I have been born? What will happen to me after I die? What is this strange phenomenon which is happening? So many people are born, so many people are dying, and in between there is so much of commotion, excitement. So if you're able to stand back and watch this entire scenario, that is when your real spiritual path from the higher sense will start. When you are completely lost in an experience of life, then where is your mind available to you for all these questions? Can you pull a child out of toys or play? It is not possible. Pull means, the mind. Can you pull an youth from passion? Again, it is not possible. So, when life is going at such a hectic pace, now what these masters do is that they don't give the answers directly. See, unless you ask a question, how can the answer be given? So, they focus on creating an awareness first. And that awareness can be created in so many ways. One such method is this. That is, when the master comes and says, you should know this, the moment the implication is that you must or you should. Now, what happens is, for a second the student gets a jolt. No, I am feeling life is going on fine. I am doing so many things and I feel I am enjoying life, everything is fine. Now, why is my guru coming and saying you should now know this? Something else, he is bringing in. So, the student will automatically pause. The student will pause and start questioning. And when you start asking these fundamental questions, that tendency, that is what is called as mumukshatva, because these questions are going to take you to the ultimate experience of moksha, merging with the infinite. That intense desire to liberate oneself from this thraldom of finiteness and become one with the infinite, that intense desire is called mumukshatva. And how will that desire be kindled? Only when you ask these questions. When you ask these questions, automatically that desire will get kindled. Actually, in life, any change is possible only when you seek that change. Everybody was just walking. They were satisfied with that. But some people, some scientists, when they saw the birds flying, they asked, okay, is it possible for a human being also to fly? Now, the moment they start asking those questions, everybody would have laughed at that time. They would have said, you're wasting your time. But when they asked those questions, that laid the foundation. Then a desire developed, an intense desire. No, somehow we should find ways of how to fly. And the result of that is the entire science of, aeronautics, the flights and all that, it has slowly developed. But everything started with the first fundamental question which some scientist asked long back. So you see, any development, any growth happens only when you ask these basic questions. If you are just kind of tamasically content, satisfied with whatever you are doing right now, then further growth is never possible. When the yogis talk of contentment, they are talking of sattvic contentment, the higher contentment, which is something totally different. But here we are talking about spiritual tamas, being in a state of inertia. I explained that in the previous verse. So, if this law is applicable with respect to every field in life, it is more so applicable with respect to spirituality also. Supposing you have a lot of dirt in your room and you're just tamasically happy, content with that. No change is possible. It is only when you ask these basic questions, why is this dirt there? Can I make it more organized? See, all that desire itself will come only when you start questioning whatever you are experiencing today. So, if you take the entire life, you are born and at some point of time you will die. Now, between this birth and death, so many experiences are there. You go through a variety of experiences. Now, at some point, you should stand apart and ask, what is all this for? These yogis are not saying you should not experience. Go through with life, go with the flow. But spend some amount of your time, effort, and energy to stand back and question the basics. But the Maya, the illusory power as they call it, that doesn't allow you to ask these fundamental questions in a deep way. See, when I say questions, these are not like mere intellectual questions. Oh, why were we born? Immediately somebody will come and give some answer. What will happen after death? Some theories they may give you. You will go to this place, you will go to that place. And there are no end to these kinds of theories. And the person who has asked these questions at a superficial level will be very happy. Oh, I believe I was born because of this. We are not talking of that kind of questioning. It should be a quest. When we come to that verse where he gives the qualities of a student, he'll be saying pari prashnena. A student should learn to question. Prashna means question. But there he is not talking of merely asking intellectual questions. No. It is that deep quest which you develop. That is what will take you forward in the spiritual path. If you are satisfied with some theories which people give, with some belief systems in the name of God, each one will have his or her own belief systems. That is how the various religions also came about. Now, if you are just merely satisfied with that, then this word is not going to create that impact in you. It is only when you move from that comfort zone, that spiritual tamas within you, and you get that courage to question the basics. You have that quest. I want to know what is beyond all this. Then only the spiritual spark can be ignited. See, the master, any master, any yogi who has attained the highest, he has the infinite wisdom. But when you don't have that spark, there is no way of communicating that wisdom. You know, today, this AI, artificial intelligence, is becoming so famous. Everybody is talking about it. And now what is interesting is, what are they saying? If you take an AI system, let's say a learning management system, now that will be able to do a lot of research and give you information. But provided you know how to ask. Now that has developed into another science now, they call it as prompt engineering. Now for a yogi, prompt engineering is something which will come very naturally, because it is an integral aspect of communication. When you don't know how to communicate to others, living people, you certainly cannot develop the communication abilities with respect to a machine. You will only keep learning those small techniques which people give, and you will mechanically apply those techniques. Now, when they say that, see, this AI, has so much of information, data is there. Now, if you know how to get whatever you want, you can get that information. This is what they're saying. It is the same thing with respect to a guru also. A guru, a true master, has that infinite wisdom. But you should have the capacity to eke out that wisdom. A master is like a mirror. He is in a state of emptiness. He will just reflect whatever is there in front of him. If you go and smile in front of a mirror, the mirror will also smile back at you. Mirror is smiling means your own image. If you frown, the mirror will frown, as it were. Then when you go away, the mirror is just there. It is just silent. It's in a state of emptiness, spiritual nothingness. This is one side. But if nothingness is one face of the infinite, fullness is also the other face. The master is in a state of emptiness, and at the same time he is also in a state of fullness. So if you know the art of eking out this wisdom, now automatically there will be an intense flow. It is like, a cow. Now, even though the cow has milk, it doesn't give the milk so easily. When the calf comes to the cow, the milk starts flowing, because the calf is able to trigger that energy of giving milk in the cow. So these great yogis have that infinite wisdom, but you should know how to eke out, and what is it that can bring out that wisdom. It is your quest only. When we have that quest, then the great masters, they start giving us a lot of energy. All our questions are answered in the process of the spiritual path as you keep doing your sadhana. But when you don't have that fundamental quest, now what is there to guide? The master will also just remain quiet. Whatever you ask, he will guide in that area, and there ends it. So that is why he says, Viddhi, you should know. When he says you should know, it means you should have the desire to know. That intense desire to know. And that intense desire comes by questioning the basics. See, there is so much of power in this word vidhi. That is why I am first, getting into the depth of that. Because without that, if we just merely get into these verses, now it will mean nothing. This verse has a very, what do we say, a set of, a very powerful set of messages. This verse is at a very high level. But what is the use of all that to a person who does not have the quest? Supposing there is so much of gold and diamonds in a room, what is the use of that, all that to a person who is not able to see the difference between the diamonds and the normal stones? There is no desire to pick those diamonds. So, this is one technique which the masters employ. They say, you should know vidhi. Then the student gets a jolt. Why should I know that? At least if you ask that question, my life is going on fine. Why should I know this? Then you get into it further. So in the previous verse, when it was said that yajna comes from karma, I told you from the spirit, when you overcome the spiritual inertia, you will be able to get into the state of karma, dynamism, action. After that only, you will be able to convert it into yajna. Now in this verse, he is actually indicating how you can get out of that spiritual tamas. That is the meaning of vidhi, the implication of vidhi. So when you get that desire to know, that intense desire to know, to experience, to find out through questioning, by developing that quest, then you will be able to overcome the spiritual inertia. If you are just tamasically content with whatever is going on, you will always be in that state of inertia only. Every change in the world has been brought about by overcoming the inertia in that field. Now, when you take the entire life in general, that is what is, that feeling of tamasic contentment is what we call a spiritual inertia. So, karma brahmodbhavam, vidhi. So you put vidhi first, know. That in the translation, that is how we have put that. First put that word know. Know means you should know. You should have that intense desire to know. You should start asking those fundamental questions. You should develop that quest. And if you have to do all this, the spiritual inertia has to be broken. It is only through this process you can break that spiritual inertia. So, vidhi, know. What should you know? That action springs from Brahman. Brahma, Brahman, one and the same. Karma, Brahma, Udbhavam. You should know this. So, Udbhavam, we saw this in the previous verse. Now, it is very interesting. He is using this word in this particular verse. He is using this twice, like karma brahmodbhavam vidhi, and then brahma akshara samudbhavam. He adds sa also and says samudbhavam again. In the if you remember, it is all centered around that bhava. And around that we saw many constructions. Now in this particular verse, it is mainly constructed along these lines of udbhavam, and then he further says samudbhavam. Why is that? If you remember, in verse number 14 I had explained this in detail. I'm not going to go through that whole thing again. But if you remember that word ud, it's a very powerful sadhana. It means to rise upwards. It means to gain that power, that infinite power, to expand, to liberate. So many dimensions were given to you. Now, why is he centering the around that word, that construction udbhavam here? You should think about it, because he is dealing with removing that spiritual inertia, overcoming the spiritual inertia and becoming one with the infinite. At that level, the sadhana is udbhavam only. The basic level itself is udbhavam. You have to put in all the efforts to expand your consciousness, to rise further and further, to awaken your infinite powers, to liberate yourself completely. If that fuel power is not there, then you will not be able to sustain yourself in this higher journey. For any kind of travel, you require fuel, no? For the vehicle to go. If there is no petrol or diesel, whatever it is that you're using as fuel, now how can the car go? After a while, the steam will run out. Similarly, when it comes to spiritual growth, if you want to merge with the infinite, you need to have the necessary fuel. That is being indicated by this word udbhavam. So one is overcoming the spiritual inertia, other is having that fuel to sustain yourself in this journey. See, the yogic path is so powerful, it can awaken all your powers. But there are many people who start off in this and then down the line they lose that consistency. That is why, when it comes to these empowerment programs, I have put a lot of filters. See, the empowerment program is designed in such a way that it will kind of push you away. It will make it more tough for you to attend that. Whether you talk of the timing or whether you talk of the registration conditions, whatever it is. So some people will feel, oh, there is so much of work, so I will not be able to give that much time. It is your choice only. Oh, I already have so much of materials, why do I require some more material? If that is what is a choice which you want to take, please take, no problem. You will have to fight all those tendencies. Only then you become qualified to get the empowerment. For example, right now we are having this Sambandha Divya Vijnan. Now you've been experiencing it. The energy levels have been extremely high. So that opportunity to do that intense sadhana and rejuvenate yourself, it's like a spiritual rejuvenation every year. The opportunity to do intense sadhana with the energy of the masters. Now, if that is just given just like that, now there will be no value. So a lot of intrinsic blocks have been kept. So for each one, it will open up some block in the mind. Like I told you, some people will say, this is, it's like in some sadhaks, this thought can come, I think it's too heavy, it's not for me. That's the way you feel, yes. whatever blocks come, are you able to overcome that and still say, I want to do it? Are you having that intense desire? That is what a master looks for. Udbhavam means having that steam, having that fuel to be able to sustain oneself in this journey. So somewhere down the line, this, people compromise and they give up the sadhana. But a true sadhak will not have his own direction. Once you start getting the sadhana from the master, and you start taking guidance, and when you start doing the practices, now thereafter a true good student will not have his own agenda. Whatever the master gives, when every Sunday the master said this, I will go through that. He is asking me to do the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana every day, I will do it. Suddenly he brings up an empowerment. Yes, now I will immediately get it. The topic and all really does not matter for a true sadhak. What does it matter whether it is about relationships or something? Probably at some point of time in the future, we should have an empowerment without any topic. That will be a real test. How many sadhaks will get inspired and come? What is the necessity of a topic also? From a very high level, if you see, it is an opportunity to dedicate 21, 22 days to be with the presence of the of these great masters, because the energy of all the holy siddhas are invoked there, and do that intense sadhana and burn up your karmas. The topic, the other things and all are further value additions actually. They give you the direction. But you should have that inner stuff, that spiritual stuff as we can call it. That will only qualify you. So on one hand he says Viddhi, on the other hand he uses the word Udbhavam, because this is very subtle. Whatever he is giving here is very subtle. The higher wisdom of spirituality is being given. So incidentally, you can apply these two principles in any area of your life. Whatever it is that you're doing today in life, just apply these two principles and see. Number one, Viddhi. Viddhi means you should know those things which can improve whatever you're doing. How can I do these things better? Then automatically you will start becoming better at whatever it is that you do. You'll start developing your skills. You'll start mastering your skills. And then Udbhavam. Am I having that consistency in my field? A person who practices this Viddhi and Udbhavam together will become a great achiever in his or her field. You see, any achiever, let it be a sports person or a business person, whatever it is that field, a scientist, a model, an actor, it doesn't matter. It could be any field. They would have practiced these two. Number one, at every step, they would have kept on questioning the basics. What should I know more? That quest would have been there with respect to that field. And they would have had a tremendous fuel power, that consistency to go through all that, to be able to withstand all the challenges and still achieve whatever they want. It is a yogic principle only. It is applied, no doubt, in a limited way in one aspect of the world, but the principle is the same. So when it comes to the spiritual path, you need to apply these two principles, Vidhi and Udbhavam. So when you go to a master, both the Vidhi and Udbhavam will be very less. But with very less power, if you ask the highest question, sir, I want to experience God, can you give me that? The master will just smile. He will say, you go and do your sadhana. Because you don't even know what you're asking. So he makes you do the sadhana, he gives you various empowerments, he gives you this wisdom so that these two aspects in you start growing. One is that Vidhi aspect, other is the Udbhavam aspect. So the Vidhi aspect gives you a powerful start when you overcome the spiritual inertia. The Udbhavam aspect helps you to maintain consistency in the path. For a person who is able to overcome the inertia and has a powerful start, and who is able to consistently maintain his or her efforts, tell me, is there anything which cannot be achieved? No way. This is how you can become a yogi. So this combination, see, individually if you take Vidhi and Udbhavam, they are very powerful principles. But when you combine these two, now that will make you a very powerful sadhak. This combination is so powerful and it is so irresistible from a master's point of view. When a student combines these two forces, he doesn't need to approach the master will approach the student. It is said, when the student is ready, the guru will come and knock at the doors of the student. What does it mean? What do we mean by becoming ready? Two powerful aspects. There are other aspects also. As we go along, we'll see that. But these two are such powerful aspects. They have the power to attract the Guru Shakti fully into your life. So, take up these two principles, combine them and start practicing them in your life in totality, which means in every aspect of your life. Whatever it is that you're doing, don't be tamasically satisfied with that. Can I keep bettering this? Ask yourself. And then when it comes to sadhana, follow the path shown by these great masters with a lot of quest, with a lot of vigor, consistently. When a sadhak combines these two principles and he keeps on practicing, the Guru Shakti gets attracted without a choice, I would say. See, once a student is ready, the master has no choice but to give this wisdom. So it is not what you verbally ask that matters. The master always sees what is the kind of energy which the student is having internally. So, Vidhi plus Udbhavam will make you such a powerful sadhak. So, for the detailed explanation of Udbhavam, you go to the previous verse, that portion, in case you want to refresh yourself with those dimensions. But the application of Udbhavam in this verse is what I am giving straight away. So, what is he saying here? When it comes to action, from where does action come? He says the source of action is Brahman. Now, this particular line, we will see it with reference to the next line also. Actually, both these lines go together. We will be separately seeing, but here and there we will also refer to both these lines. Then only it will be easy for you to understand. So, in the next line, he says, Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Brahman originates from the imperishable. So, what is this word Brahma in the neutral sense which he is using here? Brahma or Brahman, when I say Brahman, it becomes easier for you to understand. Brahman is the word used to denote the infinite spiritual or infinite supreme reality. What in English we call as God principle. Different masters may have used different words, doesn't matter. Now, he says all the actions, they all spring from that supreme reality. The source is divine. If you accept that and you get so inspired, in the very next line he says, Brahman, the supreme reality, originates from Akshara, imperishable, Samudbhavam, from Akshara. So, if this is the supreme reality, now imperishable is higher than that, he says. So, then the mind gets confused. So, what is he meaning here? We will see different dimensions all put together will help you understand the power of what he's saying. So, we will go by the first dimension. First, Brahman refers to the supreme reality, the highest, the infinite. Now, on one hand, he says action comes from the infinite, and then infinite comes from the imperishable, that Brahman comes from imperishable. So, what is interesting is, in the first line, when he says Brahman, and if we see the dimension as a supreme reality, he is talking about the supreme reality which you have been able to conceive with your mind. The supreme reality, Brahman, is no doubt infinite. But what you conceive, what you understand and conceive, that is what you can relate to as the infinite. But infinite is beyond the human intellect. The very definition of infinite is, it cannot be comprehended or conceived by the intellect, by your mind. That being the case, whatever you conceive will be finite only, will be limited. So, when he says no, that action springs from Brahman, he is talking about what you have conceived as Brahman. And generally there is a tendency, whatever now I know is the best. That is how the ego looks at it. So, to break that, in the very next line he says, Brahman, which means whatever you have conceived, that originates from the imperishable Akshara, means the true nature of Brahman, which is infinite beyond your conception. See, this is very powerful. So, when a student goes to a master and asks, who is God? And the master starts expounding, the infinite is God, and immediately the student tries to capture what that infinite is. What is the instrument which the student is using. The instrument which is being used is the mind, rather the logical aspect of the mind. Also the feeling also, both the aspects of the mind. Now the logical aspect is called the intellect. But what you need to understand is the mind itself is finite. So the instrument which you are using to grasp what God is, what the infinite is, that instrument is finite. So can you capture the whole infinite? No. It is like a telescope. With the telescope you want to see what is there in the universe. Now you focus the telescope and you see, oh, the stars are there, this is there, that is there. Now whatever you are seeing, is it the entire sky? No. You are able to capture one portion of the sky, but the sky is existing in its vastness beyond your conception also, beyond what you are seeing with your equipment, which here in this context the telescope. Similarly, when we talk of the infinite, Brahman, now that is so vast, there is no beginning, no end. Way, way beyond your conception. Now, whatever you are able to see or perceive, you see here means inner seeing, is based on what your mind is able to capture, either through its emotions or through logic. When we say emotions, we say that is practice of bhakti yoga. Logic means we say there is a practice of jnana yoga. You should use both. But you should remember that whatever you are experiencing is through this limited equipment, which is the mind. So to the extent it can capture you. Through sadhana, you can refine the mind, you can expand the mind to a very good extent. But still it is finite. So whatever you understand as Brahman, whatever divine feelings which you may have in the form of devotion, all that is something which your mind is experiencing. It is not the infinite in its full glory. It is what your mind has captured. So if your mind has captured God as one idol in a temple or in any place of worship, now your whole idea of God will become so restricted. If your mind is able to expand further and say God is there in all the places of worship, irrespective of whatever religion, whatever it is that they are following, then it has expanded, it has captured that infinite more, but it's still limited. No, God is that supreme power which is present everywhere. Now you have expanded tremendously, you have captured that infinite in a very powerful way, but it's still limited. When you say everywhere, you're talking about the world which you're conceiving. So when you use the mind to capture the infinite, as it were, you can capture, but it is only to a certain extent, not fully. That is represented by the first Brahman, which he says. When he says, no, that action springs from Brahman. What exactly he means by action springs from, action comes out of Brahman, we'll see that. As we see the different dimensions of Brahma, it will become clear to you. So that is why the great masters say that you should maintain humility in the spiritual path, because whatever you know can never be the ultimate. Whatever you feel can never be the ultimate. So at any point of time, if you allow the ego to surface, then you will start saying, what I know alone is the truth. Today, what is the reason for various conflicts among religious people? Even within one religion, different divisions are there. In Sanskritam, they are called sampradayas. They are constantly fighting against each other. Why? Because each one wants to establish that what I know is the truth. What you are saying is wrong. But a yogi rises above all these differences. He clearly sees that the infinite is incomprehensible, beyond what we can feel, what we can conceive. Then how is it that I can experience that infinite? You have to drop all the finiteness. Brahman originates from Akshara. If you want to experience that Akshara, which is that infinite in its full vastness, you have to drop all the equipments, go beyond the mind also, get to the state of no mind, as they call in the Zen Buddhism, state of no mind, they say. Again, you will only understand it intellectually, but a yogi, through the intense sadhana, comes to that level where he is able to drop off all the finiteness, and at that time the infinite is experienced not with the tool of the mind, but the infinite experiences itself. In every nididhyasana meditation that's given, I am Swayam Prakashit. That self-illumination happens. Not at the mental level, not at the intellectual level, but at the soul level, at the level of the infinite. So when you just read these two lines, Brahma, Karma Brahmodbhavam, Brahma Udbhavam, action springs from Brahma. And then Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Whatever I think is God, that also is a part of the total vastness, which is beyond words. A person who understands this will rise above all these petty quarrels. I am belonging to this sampradaya, you are belonging to that sampradaya. Now, who is right? What is it? There is no necessity to fight. Some people ask, is Shiva superior or Vishnu superior? You see, one thing is sure, you are inferior to both, no? Then why do you want to know who's superior? Meaningless questions. All that is, comes from the ego. The ego wants to assert itself even when it comes to God. My God is superior to your God. So some people say, I will not enter Shiva temples. Why? Because I am a worshipper of Vishnu. Some people, they say, I will not enter Vishnu temples. Why? Because I am a worshipper of Shiva. Now third person comes and says, I will neither worship Shiva nor Vishnu. Why? Because I am a worshipper of Shakti. There is no end to these kinds of what we can say as very limited concepts. The assertion of ego. See, the ego tends to assert itself everywhere. So when it comes to spirituality also, it starts asserting itself. The great masters, the great yogis, they didn't preach this. They never said, no, fight with each other like this. No. whatever each one is able to conceive or capture of the infinite using his or her mind, now that has become a religion, that has become a sect, that has become a sampradaya. But if you want to become a yogi, now you will have to rise beyond all religions, all sects, all differences, all the sampradayas. There is only one sampradaya. Sampradaya means what? Lineage. If you really think about it, there is only one sampradaya, and that comes from the infinite. The moment we talk of the mind capturing the infinite, then various differences start coming. But even in that, when you understand this fundamental principle, you will see that it's all one and the same. Whether you worship the infinite through Narayana, or whether you worship the infinite through Shiva or Lakshmi or Saraswati or Vinayaka or Muruga, any manifestation, it does not matter. It all springs from that Akshara, imperishable. Now, here he is stopping with this. We are also going to stop with that. I am not going to go beyond the purview of this verse. But this is a basic preparation which he is giving for the further higher truth which he will be giving later on. In chapter 15, he will be talking about this in detail. Kshara, Akshara and Uttama Purusha. He will say there is something beyond Akshara also. Now, first one needs to grasp the energy of this, no? Then only you can go to that level. These are all very powerful internal meditations. You just can't simply do some analysis and understand. Actually, if you just merely analyze and understand, that is what leads to quarrels. My understanding is right, your understanding is wrong. These are all this should make you so meditative. Karma, Brahma, Udbhavam. Karma arises from Brahman. Now, that will take you to one level of depth in meditation. And then, Brahma, Akshara, Samudbhavam. That will take you to a different level, different dimension altogether. Today that is being introduced to you, but as you advance in spirituality, the empowerments will be given for all this. The empowerments cannot be given just like that. And that is when you will start awakening the infinite powers from within you. See, they're all different levels of awakening, we can say. The ultimate enlightenment is at the highest level, but throughout the path, your awakening will go on increasing. And according to what level you are in, the Master will give that level of energy, the empowerment energy. And as things are awakened and the student does that sadhana, for example, the Divya Sambandha Vijnan, a higher level of empowerment has been given than earlier. So when you have received that, you will have to do sadhana with that. That's why those materials are also, after the 21 days are over, the materials will be given, with which you need to do the sadhana. And once you get established in that, and when you're ready, further higher energy can be given. You're ready for the next awakening. That is how we should proceed. So the same principle he is using in this verse, but he is dividing the whole spiritual path into two. What you conceive or what you experience as infinite with your equipments, limited equipment of the mind, and that which exists beyond the mind. That's what he calls as Akshara. And later on, he'll be saying Uttama Purusha, that which is beyond Kshara and Akshara. That 15th chapter, when we come there, we'll see. Very difficult to put it in words, But in that flow, whatever comes out, I'm sure that'll help you all to awaken yourself. See, in the yogic approach, we don't plan out, and this has to be told in this way, that way, and all. What I do is I just come and get into the energy flow. Now, how exactly the discourse is going to come out, all that I don't know. But the best expression happens automatically in that divine flow of energy. So if you are also tuned in, you will go on receiving that divine energy through the expression, through these words. And incidentally, what I found is, whatever is, when it comes out naturally, if you see from a logical point of view, it fits in very, there's a beautiful logical sequence. If you see from an emotional point of view, it inspires you, it gives you devotion. This is the beauty of that infinite energy. It is, as humans, we cannot consciously achieve that. It is only when we completely surrender to that supreme reality, to that supreme energy, and go with the flow, thereafter that divinity will take over. So action, I'm giving you the tip here. In the next session, we'll see that in greater detail. Action springs from Brahman, means when all your actions start coming out from that divine experience, then they will be converted into yajna automatically, which is what we saw in the previous verse. So if you see, the ultimate source of all actions is that infinite only. What is that power which is making you act? What is that power which is making you feel? What is that power which is making you think? That is the source. The entire expression of actions that is there. But what is the source? It is the infinite, he says. All actions are springing from that infinite, which he calls as Brahman. But then he realizes what you are understanding as infinite is using your equipments. Therefore, he says, that Brahman, whatever you have captured, originates from that vastness, imperishable. There is one limitation there also. That is why in the 15th chapter he will further develop on that and say, beyond Kshara, Akshara lies the Uttama Purusha, which is, it's better to keep quiet. No words can express that. It is beyond everything. See the power of the seed. When you absorb this energy, your entire personality will get purified. Your consciousness will start expanding. Today, without this understanding, you are so caught up with your activities, actions. You have no power there. Your actions lack direction. Your actions lack dimension. And the same actions, when they have sprung from that infinite, how much of energy they should give you. Instead of that, today your actions are depleting you of your energy. From morning to evening, if you work, you will say, I'm feeling so tired. Some people say, I'm feeling dead tired, they'll say. Incidentally, a person who is dead will have no tiredness. I don't know how that that phrase has come. I'm dead tired. Some people say, I'm dog tired. No dog ever gets tired. Some phrase people just use. What is causing that tiredness? It is not the activities per se. It is your wrong attitude, and that is springing from ignorance. Here, when you gain this highest wisdom, thereafter, all the actions which you do will start becoming extremely powerful. And when you start converting them into yajna, now the actions will take you to the next level. So in this verse, see, as we go step by step, each step will be so inspiring. When we see the different dimensions of Brahman further, everything will start inspiring you so much, and you will find that when you get so inspired, when you absorb that energy, and then when you get into action, when you get on with your activities, now you will be so dynamic in the world, effortlessly. Your productivity will increase so much. You will be able to do, but for you there will be no strain at all mentally. Why? Because your mind is established in that Brahman. See, this gives you that true power in your actions. So when he is dealing with karma yoga, he is going to the source. And when you go to the source, your actions will become extremely powerful. So we will stop with that here. If you want to watch this session a few more times, any number of times you want, it is going to be there only. And get inspired. See, the key to unlocking the secrets in this verse is your inspiration only. Without inspiration, in a dry way, if you are reading this, action comes from Brahma. Brahma comes from imperishable. Now, and you write a beautiful thesis and you present it. See, things have deteriorated to such an extent, they have lost the spirit of it. So these things have to be studied with the devotion and inspiration, and you have to absorb the energy flow. That is the key. So as we go in this journey, your personality is going to expand. Every bit of information which will be given to you is directed towards expansion of your consciousness. That's why I'm taking it a little slowly and going step by step. Okay, so before we do the Nididhyasana meditation, I will take up one question. So this question has been asked by a sadhak. It has been put in the YouTube section. Relating to the laws of karma, if our lives are governed by our own karmas, what is the purpose of praying after people die that their soul finds a great next life? Can normal people, in the sense who are not yogis, who typically pray for their closed ones after their death, actually influence another person's karma? Is there any purpose in such rituals? Good question he has asked. So when we are studying the law of karma, see, this is a very good question, because it means you started going deeper into your the philosophy of your life. So when you begin to hear and when you begin to understand and assimilate the law of karma, then you understand that everything in your life is happening because of your karmas only. So based on that, this question has been asked, which is very good. So what you're basically asking is, what is the purpose of praying after people die that their soul finds a great next life? Is there any purpose in such rituals and all that? See, it is no doubt true that everything which happens in each one's life is because of his or her own karmas. Now you're asking the question about after death and all that, but first we will talk about this life. Just because everything happens according to each one's karma, does it mean that you will stop helping anybody? Supposing somebody comes and asks for food, will you say, no, I'll not give you food? Why? Because according to your karmas, things are happening in your life. Does it mean you cannot help anyone or you should not help anyone? No. The very theme of Karma Yoga, one of the aspects of Karma Yoga is selfless service. See, that way, just imagine, why should we have these Sunday sessions? Whatever is happening in your life is according to your karma. No, why should I come and every Sunday expound or something? If you have the karmas, you will get this wisdom. We can't take that stance. See, helping another person is not interfering with the other person's karmas. It doesn't mean now the law of karma has failed. Even your help and the fact that that other person receives that is a part of that other person's karmas only. Please understand this carefully. When a person comes and asks for some help, and when you do that, now it is in your karma that you have to help. Therefore, you are helping. You are in that position of giving, so you are giving. Now, if it is in that person's karmas to receive it, that person will receive and go. So, in this whole exercise of giving and taking, what they are saying is, don't think I am giving, don't think I am taking. Go beyond that ego. That is what is real Karma Yoga. So, in our own life today, we are meeting so many people. Now, you take care of your life in the best possible way, and you see how best you can be of use to others, which is acting in a selfless way. And the same thing the other person also follows. So, that is how a society should be built. That is not contradicting the law of karma. This is what I want you to understand. So, the same selflessness is continued even after a person dies. So, when a person dies, from the spiritual point of view, that person has dropped the physical body. The person has actually not died. That person continues to exist in a subtle form, subtle body. The gross physical body has been dropped. So, it becomes our duty when there is a karmic connection, it becomes our duty to wish for the welfare of that person who is existing in that subtle form. When that person had the physical body, it is our duty to serve, right? I explained to you the principle of give and take. That same equation continues even after a person dies. That is what is interesting. So just because a person has dropped the body, don't think that that person has gone away from existence. No, that person's continuing to exist in a subtle form. You're not able to see that because you're still existing in the gross form and you're using these gross equipments to contact the world. So, when a person is alive, you wish for the good of that person. There is a giving, and there is a taking also. Similarly, when that person passes away, what our yogi says, you should continue to think about the welfare of that person. Now your question is, just because I wish, does it mean now their karmas will get altered? No. But your wishing will add energy and help them to fulfill their karmas. That is true even while living. See, now for example, in these Sunday sessions, this wisdom is being given. Just because now the wisdom is being expounded, does it mean now anybody who listens to this will get the entire wisdom and go away? Not necessarily. But whatever is being given here will definitely help you to strengthen your wisdom, that is your karmas, to fulfill your karmas. So all these rituals which came about after the death rituals, they are all aimed at wishing the welfare of that departed soul, so that that person continues in his or her journey in a peaceful way. But actually whether that happens to that other person or not is not fully there in your hands. You may give, the other person has to receive. It is true when the person is alive also, right? You give the best of advice to a person, still that person does not listen, means what can you do? But still you should play your part. Now various rituals were given. There is a logic behind all that. I am not getting into the full thing, probably in some other context. I can explain that also. The basic principle is this. So the mantras, all that, they produce certain divine vibrations which are conducive for the departed soul to proceed further in his or her journey. That is what is important. See, when a person passes away, the first thing that will come is sorrow, because you are missing that person. So if you continue to be sorrowful, now what are you giving that person? Sorrow. The energy of sorrow is what you are giving from your end. That is not good, no? If a person has a problem in front of you, if you keep giving sorrow to that person, it will not help. Same thing you extrapolate and understand after a person drops the physical body and is existing in a subtle form. The yogis say, if you are going to give the emotion of sorrow, missing, I am missing you, all that, which is what will naturally come, now that person cannot proceed peacefully. It will weaken that soul. So, to convert your sorrowful emotions based on attachment to a divine positive vibrations, they kept these rituals. So what you are offering to that soul will be positivity. See, the principle which the yogis say is that whenever you meet anyone, you should meet them with unconditional love and happiness. When a baby is born, you should welcome the baby into your life, into your family, with a lot of unconditional love and happiness. This you can easily understand. But the next thing which the yogis say is where you will have a problem. They say when a person leaves the physical body, which is what we call as death, they say you should say bye to that person with a lot of unconditional love and happiness, because then only that soul will happily go to the next level, next step. The soul has its own journey, For a while, it takes on a physical body, the relationships are formed, but we think that alone is real. That is a problem. But when you start doing the sadhana and when you start understanding this deeper wisdom, that is when you start seeing others not as merely bodies, but others as individual souls who are occupying that respective body, their respective bodies temporarily, which includes yourself also, incidentally. So these rituals were all kept like that. Now, yogis, of course, have a higher method. They don't depend, they are not dependent on all these rituals and all that. A very advanced yogi can give ascension, can help a departed soul in its ascension by directly giving the energy, the Sanjeevani Shakti, that infinite energy can be passed on. That is a very advanced level, only one can do it. So, this is not in contradiction with the law of karma, if you understand it in the correct sense. Okay, so I'll stop with that with respect to your question. If you have more doubts, you please ask. I will explain it thoroughly. It all depends on what you want to know. Okay, so now we'll do the Nididhyasana meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, I am becoming more and more relaxed. Feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper within myself. Beyond the physical body, beyond the emotions, beyond the thoughts lies the supreme reality, Brahman. All my actions spring from that infinite Brahman. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Wriggle your fingers, your toes, open and close your palms a few times. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. And cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, the top of your head, the back of your head, your neck, and slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. We had a very powerful session today, extremely inspiring. And as we get into the depth of this verse more and more, it'll keep on inspiring you. The inspiration is, endless. The more inspired you are, the better you'll be able to act dynamically in the world. Acting from the state of higher inspiration is an integral aspect of Karma Yoga. Acting in an inspired way. This verse is not to stop you from action. If you stop off all your duties, you're not doing your duties properly, then you say, why? I'm thinking about Brahman. No use. This is to help you get over the spiritual inertia. So we'll see more in the next session. Okay? So thank you very much. Hari Om.